In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a fully functioning thermometer using nothing but a glass bottle, a straw, and a few other household supplies. This is a fun way to teach concepts like temperature, the scales that are associated with it, such as Kelvin, Fahrenheit, and Celsius, and you can incorporate many other topics into this one subject. In case you haven't figured out, this is a homeschooling video. I haven't done one of these in a very long time, but just like in videos past, I will have a worksheet that I gave to my kids and I will upload it onto my website, homeschoolscienceclub.com, so you can download it for free, give to your kids or students, and hopefully they'll be able to learn something. First up, the supplies that you're going to need are a glass bottle. The narrower the neck at the top, the easier this will be. A straw to go in the top. The longer the straw and the more firm the straw, the better. You will need a little bit of modeling clay, some food coloring, and a couple of drops of cooking oil to finish this off. To start with, take a jug of water and mix in a few drops of your favorite food coloring. Then you're going to take that jug and use it to fill the glass bottle all the way to the top. I mean, you're going to want the water almost overflowing, and if you spill a few drops, it's not that big of a deal. It's probably better that way, but you can see here that's why I did everything in a pan for easy cleanup. Next up, to make this happen, what we need to do is find a way to suspend the straw in the solution without touching the bottom, and that's where the modeling clay comes in. My daughter had some modeling clay from some of her activities, so we had to spend a few minutes kind of kneading it, warming it up to actually be able to mold, and it was at this point really we kind of came into our first problem. The modeling clay, which was actually recommended by the science book that I was using, didn't really work out too well. It was really hard to form a tight seal on the bottle because the top of the bottle was wet, water kept leaking out. It couldn't form a really good seal around the neck of the bottle or the straw, so we ended up scrapping the modeling clay idea. During this time where it looked like the modeling clay was not going to work, I came up with the idea of getting some silly putty, that stuff that people sometimes put in their ears when they're swimming to keep water from going in. So I went to my local Walgreens and picked some up. It was at this time I also picked up one of those glass Starbucks bottles because I knew the neck was a little bit smaller. What really would have been perfect was one of these wine bottles that you see here. Something just seemed weird about buying alcohol from a Walgreens on a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Even though the experiment would have probably been a lot better, I stuck with the Starbucks bottle. So getting back to the house, the silly putty and the Starbucks bottle worked much better. The putty formed a nice bond around the straw and an even better bond around the mouth of the Starbucks bottle. So once you have your straw suspended in your bottle, put a few more drops of your colored solution in the straw, filling it a couple of inches above your barrier. And to ensure that we can use this thermometer for a long time, we don't want the water to evaporate. I just said evaporate. We don't want the water to evaporate out of our thermometer. So at this point, you can take a few drops of cooking oil, drop that into the straw where it will rest on top of the water and essentially forming a seal. Now we know that water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and it boils at 100 degrees Celsius, and we're going to use that knowledge to calibrate our homemade thermometer. So at this point, have your kids put the bottle in an ice cold solution on the oven. Put as much ice as you need, and you can just let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes. If you have a thermometer, that would be even better because you can see the water as it cools down to near 0 degrees Celsius, or on our scale it's doing 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Once you get the water to essentially a freezing point, mark the level of the water on your straw, and that's going to be 0 degrees Celsius. Now, since you started this on the stove, all you have to do is turn the burner on, get the water boiling to 100 degrees Celsius, give it a little time to warm up your colored solution, and you will see the water inside the straw begin to rise. And once it's been at 100 degrees Celsius for a few moments, then you can mark that part on your straw, and that's going to be your 100 degrees Celsius mark. And for all intents and purposes, at this point, you have really made a homemade thermometer. You can put this in the refrigerator, you can take this outside, you can put it in other solutions, give it a moment and see where the water level goes, and that's going to be your temperature. What I had my kids do was measure the difference from the 0 degrees to the 100 degrees on the straw. And it came out to, they used inches when they were doing it, it came out to about 2.5 inches. So then we were able to divide this into halves and then quarters. And because we were using Celsius, halfway down, of course, was 50 degrees Celsius, a quarter up, 75 degrees, 3/4 down, 25 degrees. And there you have it. Using your scale and using your glass bottle, you now have essentially a fully functioning homemade thermometer that will work nearly as good as everything else. I say nearly as good, of course, because it's not exact, but because it never needs batteries, hey, maybe it's a little bit better. We did run into one problem, however. As we were letting the glass bottle cool off, I noticed that the water level inside our straw dipped below the seal. And I wasn't really sure why that happened until I went back and remembered that during the experiment, my daughter actually found a hole in the seal where the pressure inside the bottle was able to kind of push up, and a few drops of water were coming out from that hole in the seal. We were able to patch it up during the experiment, but I should have realized then that our thermometer was essentially going to be broken, because from beginning to an end, it has to be a closed system. So if you're going to do an experiment like this, which I think is really fun, avoid the modeling clay, get you a silly putty-like substance that you can find at any pharmacy, but be sure and really double down and make sure there are no gaps on the seal. After this, I sat down with my daughter and we talked about all the conversions, and that's what the worksheet that I'll post on the website is for. If you've done a similar experiment in your home and found a better way to put the seal on, please leave how you did it in the comments below. I really think I am the only person that makes videos for YouTube that is not sponsored by Squarespace. That's why my website is really crappy. I don't spend any time on it, but I do post the worksheets there. Again, if you're new to the channel, www.homeschoolscienceclub.com. The worksheets that I give my kids will be on there. You can download it, do whatever you want to with them to help you teach your kids. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you next time.